Okay, so right now we've got the, we're going to start with the cam bearings. The one in the back here is always first. I've got the tool inside. So basically, I've inserted it in there. This cam bearing is already in, and I'm just kind of going back through to show. You're going to have to put in your tool, and then as you drive this in with the hammer, this biggest thing is going to be where you put the actual cam bearing in based on where the holes are inside the block. So this bearing is particular for the Dart, but it's really no different overall from other GM stuff. These holes here in the main bearing, holes for the oil primary lube on the crank journals, they have holes here also. This hole here needs to correlate with the hole inside here as you drive it in. There's a little bit of a difference in the back because it's going to be not viewed from the top. You'll have to actually take the rear and mark on the tool a line and then drive this in to where it will line up with a hole like this that's on the inside. I'll flip this over and show that. But really, the bigger thing is just that these holes inside the groove need to line up with the holes for the primary oiling. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of, explain that part here. And I'll flip this over and we can have a look inside the back one that I drove in here already, and then kind of go over that. Okay, so here I just want to take a second and explain kind of what I have to do beforehand. So this is the end of the tool. This rod is just an all-star. You can get Moroso. There's a lot of different brands. But these holes that are inside the bearing here for the oil hole, you'll need to take on your piece, and I mark a straight line across. That way I can actually put the actual bearing on and keep it in line with the line that's on the mark. That way while I'm driving it in, it goes to where I want it to be. So if I was trying to come here on this area, I'm going to be driving it in and keeping it straight towards the hole that's here in the front. And I'll see if I can zoom in on that. So on this one here, if we were to be driving it in, we're going to be taking the piece that's driven into the hole, and we're lining this hole up here on the front with this hole. And when you get it driven into the cavity for the bore and it gets into place, you can shine a flashlight in this hole and it'll shine right down through the hole of the bearing. When you take the tool out, of course, you'll be able to see straight through it. So basically it's going to be a straight shot going straight through here down into this hole on the top of this. And that's how all the mains are going to be for the first four. The rear is going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do here real quick is I will drive one in here, and then we can look at the rear main while I flip it over. Okay, so here's where I've gone back to just this point of view again. Just remember, I've actually got the bearings in here, but let's just go ahead. We'll take this one out. I have my flashlight. And again, what we're going to look for is this hole inside the actual block is for the prime oiling on the crank journal. And our bearing is going to slide right here into this spot, and our hole is going to be in line with this hole, so that when it comes and pressed in, it goes through the hole and onto the journal. So as I drive this in, I'm going to shine my flashlight in here, and I'll be able to see through the hole down on the bottom, and you'll be able to see through there. And I'll try to zoom in on that when I'm done. Right now what I'll do is I'll just drive in the actual bearing. Now don't go too fast because you can pass it up. But right now I'm looking down in the hole. We're not yet where we want to be. If I take my tool back and out, I can see a little better. It's just starting to crest over the hole. So it's just a few more taps. Like I said, don't rush it. It's almost perfect. It's just going to be like one more tap. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll try to zoom in here and we can look through the hole together to see exactly what I'm looking at. Alright, so right now I put two flashlights shining in the tunnel there, and you should be able to look through the cam bearing right where that hole lines up in the center. There's a small hole dot that's right there in the middle. Now that there is what we're looking for, so it's center with the prime oil lubing system inside here. What I'm pointing at is inside here, of course, right above my finger. But if we take away the flashlights, let's see how you can see maybe that dot a little better. See how there's an open circle there. There you can see. Now when you're looking through it this way, you can see the actual bearing backside in the hole. And then when you actually put a flashlight on the bottom, you can see it coming through the top. Now all we're doing is lining that up about as center as possible. And that's going to keep the lubrication hole in line. So we'll take a look at the back side here real quick before we finish the rest. Alright, so here's where I'm going to look at their back side bearing. This is the rear main cam bearing. What's going to be unique about this, and it's unfortunate I drove it in. I actually recorded it, but the recording it got messed up. So this redo here, all I'm going to show over, just like how the other side, what's important is you're lining up your lube holes. Because the back of the bearing hole does not go all the way through the block like the center main ones. This one has just a hole inside that shoots off. But what you do is you drive this in just like you would the other one. It needs to be center with the hole that's inside there. And then to make sure that it is, because you can't shine a flashlight in there, is I take an Allen wrench, and once it's lined up over it, I just drop it down into the hole there. You can see it drops right in. And until it can drop down all the way, you'll actually be able to see most of the material, but that's how I know that that's in the hole there, and that's in line with the oil hole that's in the center of the cam bearing. That's really how you do the rear. If it was upside down and you kept it that way, you could do the same thing. You'd have to kind of look underneath of it or turn it sideways. That's the hard part about this. You got to rotate it on the stand. All the Chevys are just like this for the Gen 1. So hopefully that makes sense there. You know, just push it in so you know that when you're lined up, you can come down in it and you're in the right spot. So I'm going to finish doing the rest of the cam bearings. The other ones are just like the same thing. If you want, you can actually have your cam bearing tool go through the back if this isn't on the stand and you have it on the ground, and you can do your front bearing through the reverse, or you could do it in the front. What I have for my tool, there's actually a small All-Star has a small little mushroom cap that goes in the end here, so you can slide your piece over it, and then you can actually just tap this right in the front. which I guess I could record that next. Okay, so on the front of the block here, I want to point out there's the hole here. We can see this is just like in the rear main. I just pointed out this is what it would have looked like in the other side where the bearing already was driven in. But you can see I'll be doing the same method. You could either put it in this way straight up, take the tool out, so you can take your bearing, have your center mark on here, and line that up, that line with where it should be in the center. Drive this in. And then you can check with the hole here by just sticking it in the hole, or you can actually flip it around and this will be on the top. This is at an angle though where the hole is, so you could still do the flashlight method and shine it in there. It's just it's one way or the other. So I'll probably flip it over so I can shine the flashlight in and show that method because it's most easiest for other people, I imagine, to do. So we'll have a look at that. Okay, so here we're in the front. I'm going to show this one to be the last one. I've got my tool, which is the reverse part. Normally you're going to use this one, but this one here is designed also to be used in the front. It also stabilizes the front in reverse, goes in the hole to keep this straight. So just like the other ones, the hole here is we're going to be shining the flashlight through here for our hole. And I've got this lined up here. There's the hole and the line. You can see the tunnel's right here that goes up to it, this little ridge. That tunnel's there where it shoots straight through for the oil lube. So we've got that in line. So I've got this in there, and we're just going to drive it in and then check for the hole with the flashlight when it's over with to make sure it's in the right spot. Usually when this stops, it's pretty close. I'm just going to check it though. So I'm going to look down in the hole now, and I could see it just needs a smidge more. You can see where it's almost flush with the block face. So that's where we want it to be flush all the way. Anyway, so it's just a few more taps here. And that's just how the tool's designed. Usually when you have that all the way flat, you're good to go. I can see the hole in there. And just like before, we'll look and see through here on the inside. I'll zoom in and we can see that also. Alright, so I'm trying to get a good angle. It's kind of hard. But looking through here, you can see the hole on the bottom at the channel where we've got our bearing hole. Just right there, you can see me run my finger through there, and you can see that hole is inside the hole itself. Once you can see that inside there, you're in a good spot. You're going to get your oil lube and everything properly. And that's how we do the front. I'll flip it over and show the Allen wrench method too going in there. Okay, so we're looking at the front here again. And just like in the back, we've got the hole lined up here. And I can actually take the Allen wrench and stick it into the hole just like I could before. If you were just going to keep it this way, you would just drive it until you know that it's in the hole. You know that you're correct with that spot. So same as the back, and then that pretty much is the method for putting in your cam bearings.